What's up, guys? My name is Dio,
And I'm Lottie.
and this is the Black Leaders Podcast. And we are here with a very special guest today, Nneka Irobunda,
Big June.
the Evo Queen, the greatest dancer, in my opinion, in all of the world, greatest female dancer, and just she oozes entrepreneurship, she oozes creativity, she oozes just movement and just the ability to move not just herself but to move people as well. So we're gonna get into a real high level conversation here today.
Yeah.
A really high level conversation, Lonnie.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah. Yes. So we always like to start out with this for our guest on the show. What does wealth look like to you?
Okay, that's a great question. Wealth to me is about abundance. And I mean this in a way that it's about having an abundance of valuable economic resources, valuable connections, as well as having a growth mindset and health, having great health. So that's what wealth looks like to me, in like an overarching kind of scheme.
So you kind of mentioned a little bit about health, you mentioned about relationships, you mentioned financial, I guess. Would you say of all those, what are you focusing on right now? What do you think is, the at your stage in life that you should be focusing on right now?
So I feel like I've done a great job at creating a healthy lifestyle. I'm a art athlete, I'm an artist, so you kind of need the body, the physical, in order to be in a good space, in a good like way, in order to like run what I even do on a daily basis. So I feel like I'm pretty good there. Definitely focusing on having more valuable economic resources, as well as I'm always in the business of creating valuable connections.
When you say that's dope. Like when you say economic resources, right? Just like for the for the novices out there, know, right? Like, what do you mean by that? For you, what are those economic resources like when it comes in respective to like what your craft and what you're doing in terms of growing your wealth or expanding your brand?
Okay. For me, that looks like having more businesses, having, as people like love to call it in this kind of phrase of multiple streams of income. But I see it as more than just multiple streams of income. I see it as literally just having an expansion, having multiple of everything, including like multiple ideas that you're putting to fruition, multiple seeds that you're planting, multiple job opportunities or opportunities that you're seeing and like seeking out, and multiple ways of investing. Whether it's like you have your usual ways of investing, but then you also have other ways of investing. So really like getting into that whole field of things. So yeah.
A lot of people know I'm always here for alpha. I always want to get into, what game can you give the people that are watching today. So I guess tell us, what is the most knowledgeable thing someone should know if they wanted to be a dancer?
Wow. You're getting to the deep questions immediately. Can you repeat that one more time?
So for the people that are watching, for the dancers.
Wait, can you first like tell us, like kind of give us like a background on yourself, like in like what you do? Like
Okay, so my name is Nneka Irobunda, of course. Born in Lagos, Nigeria, raised in the Boogie Down Bronx. And I am, like Dio said, I'm a creative director, I'm a professional dancer, choreographer, and I've created this like empire for myself what I call Afro-Beastilettos. It's growing and evolving into a certain style, but it is a fusion of heels technique and different African dance styles, as well as a little bit of dancehall. And I also have a movement therapy business called Own Art. And yeah, and I have Day Lesson LLC. So there's a lot of different things happening within my little world. And I got there. Well, I've always been a dancer since I was young. My nickname is First Lady, and it's because I was the first lady to be on the dance floor, always. I was literally the first one. And so I was racking it up real early. Talk about entrepreneurship. Being Nigerian, you walk into a party, you dancing, and they're spraying you. Okay? They're throwing money on you. And it's a celebratory thing. So I don't know if I was motivated by the money or motivated by the art, but it's clearly both. And you can see it in my life today. And yeah, so started there, and I just loved dance and loved movement. It was a natural, it was innate to me. It was kind of like breathing. And then when I got into like middle school, like 11, 12, I started taking it a little more seriously and training more. So I was training ballet, jazz, modern. I was working with Doug Verone. I was taking ballet from amazing teachers. So I was just like really in the training bag. But living in New York City, this is a different type of training that happens, and that happened in the streets. So I started doing a lot more street dancing, and I got with a group called the B-Boy Rebels. Shout out to Angel. And I started like learning how to like b-boy and just like dancing with like hip hop and b-boy dancers, and like I literally hit on a train once, and I if you're from New York, you know when you hear Showtime.
Showtime is crazy.
Right. So I literally was like the secret weapon for Showtime. They were like, oh, you guys see B-Boy, and then you see Nneka come out. Yep.
Oh, wow.
So I used to do that, and then just like learning like different street styles, Vogue, just being in the scene, and experiencing really like the culture of New York throughout movement. And after that, I went to college, and that was a great space for me because after taking in all this knowledge from not only my actual like training, but also like my streets training, and then going to a space where it's kind of structured, it's academia, you know, it's structured, they have their own structure. I feel like that was a really big turning point for me because I was used to structure, but not in that kind of way. And it was kind of like, shout out to Scripps College. I loved college. But it gave me opportunity to see that I didn't want to fit within a system. So like, I'm very grateful for my experiences before college because it made me realize that I could not fit into that system that was happening. And my degree is in psychology and dance. And the dance space within academia is a very, very, very nuanced space, and it's a space where it's still very whitewashed, I would say. And what I was bringing to the table was something they just never saw. I was fusing styles. I was bringing traditional African dance styles. I was bringing street African dance styles. I was bringing Vogue. I was bringing b-boy. I was bringing a bunch of stuff, and they're like, what is this girl doing? This is not fitting the confines of our walls. So that was a really huge turning point, and that kind of brought me to a place of solitude and like isolation, where I could really focus and hone into like what I created now, which is Afro-Beastilettos, and what I've been pushing out into the world, you know? It gave me a space to freestyle, practice, grow, write down, create, study myself. And you know, I feel like everyone needs a place to study yourself. So after that, I realized that, and I also studied psychology, and I'm really big on psychology because like one of my main things in life is healing, you know? And healing is a very taboo word. You know, we all hear healing. That was like one of the big phrases for the year, like just healing, like we're all gonna here to heal, you know? But I saw it as a way, like I saw there was something missing within like, you know, the Black community across the diaspora. And a lot of it had to do with healing. And I felt like movement is embodied ancestral memory. That's what I consider movement. It's deeper than just like dancing.
Say that again?
I feel like movement is, especially for Black people across the diaspora, it's embodied ancestral memory. And I find that really, really important and really vital.
Dad, why are you making your noises like that?
Boom. And I feel like that's really vital to our healing as a people. You know, like we say music brings us together, dance brings us together, but it's bigger than that. It's something that's literally like in your DNA. So studying psychology and also studying dance, I got my degree in both. It really opened my eye into understanding the bigger picture for me. And everything I'm doing now is a result of me understanding my actual purpose and mission. So that's a lot about me. I said a little about me.
What is that purpose and mission?
To make sure my people heal, you know? And it's like
I mean the way like I summed it up, right? Like I guess from what you were saying, right? It's like healing people through movement, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's like and like all different forms of movement, right?
Yeah, all different forms of movement, and just like
mental and physical.
Mental, physical, and also just like, media, like dance is so out there now. Like everyone is dancing.
So I guess, that kind of goes back to, this is perfect because it kind of ties into kind of where you were going to. Actually, no, just ask the question. Yeah.
So, because you said, I was at Scripps. I had a little bit of time to get to know myself, and I asked you, what is the most knowledgeable thing a dancer needs to do?
Okay, let me answer that. So I think what you were like kind of going on is that knowing yourself. And I also, when I say knowing yourself, I mean taking the time to self-reflect and taking the time to reinvent yourself throughout the ages. One thing I think that has helped me in order to accumulate a certain amount of wealth or just like grow in my industry was being able to reinvent myself and reinvent the wheel of my business as time has gone. In college, I was doing something very different than what I'm doing now because, times have changed, So in college, I was very focused on the self. I was very focused on creating something I haven't really seen before, like just creating something that spoke to myself. It was really just about me. It was very selfish, actually. But it happened to resonate with a lot of people. And that's okay. Don't always be fooled by people telling you not to be selfish. Actually, sometimes be selfish. Because when you know yourself, other people are able to know you better.
Yeah.
So that was aspect. So throughout the time I started creating my business, I called it Afro-Beastilettos, which is my classes. And from that, what I did first was partner with a company that was already doing classes, and they had a pretty wide audience. So I didn't start from ground zero, I would say. I was actually pretty smart about the way I went about it, because I was like, it's really hard to build an audience on your own.
We're going to tap into that later. It's
really hard to build an audience on your own. So sometimes you just got to tap into other people's audiences until you know what your audience is and who they are. So I tapped into somebody else's audience, and that created kind of buzz. I was already kind of creating a buzz on my own just from me putting my videos up on different platforms. But the first thing I said is know yourself, and don't be afraid to reinvent yourself. That's the main important thing, and be adaptable with the times. A lot of people get stuck in like traditional ways and old ways of thinking and old ways of going about it. Okay, as a dancer, this is route. It's like, okay, the typical dancer, and I say typical because dance is such a huge industry that there's literally not just one way of being a dancer. Like there's dancers who just do administrative work, like literally just like do the logistics of stuff. There's dancers who's into media. There's dancers who are doing concert dance and only doing things on like a certain stages. There's dancers who only do Broadway. There's dancers that you see all the time, which I feel like are more commercial dancers. So they're more seen in like terms of commercial work. So a lot of dancers that I know want to be more commercial dancers. They want to be professional dancers, of course, but they want to be dancing backup for Beyonce. Okay?
That's the top.
They want to be on an Apple commercial, getting them that nice buyout. They want to be on a Nike commercial. That's like being seen. That's a lot of what I feel like I would say a typical dancer. That's like one of the goals. But it's kind of sad because it kind of ends there. For a lot of dancers, unless you're going to be a choreographer, which is a totally different job, unless you're going to do creative direction, it's a totally different job, but dancer kind of ends there. And I think that's not a growth mindset.
It's not abundance.
It's not abundance. Especially because the industry kind of caps you with the amount of money you make just being a backup dancer. The industry caps you with the amount of money you make just working for one commercial for Apple, So
this is the biggest podcast for dancers in history. So if you are a dancer and know a dancer and you don't share this video with them, do you care about that person? But yeah, continue.
But yeah, so it caps there. And this is what I mean by abundant mindset and growth mindset, and having and open yourself up to reinventing the wheel, and going against what you typically would say is a dancer.
Yeah.
For me, the way should I just stop there? Should you ask me a question?
Continue.
Okay. Like, for example, one of the ways that I accumulated wealth early on was not only my classes, but I was doing a lot of promotional videos for artists. And one of the contracts that I had contracts, because I was like, I'm not about to get played. I don't know y'all like that. And I've been in the business of making contracts. I used to make contracts for my dad when I was like 13, whenever we had people work at one of our houses, the house that we had or whatever. Just some used to contracts. I'm used to words being bond.
World is built on contracts.
Okay. So one of the contracts that I had for artists was like, okay, I'm going to do this video. You're paying me a certain amount and it's a good amount, but it's not enough. Knowing that my video is, I am distribution, you know, your video, you're asking me to use my work to help distribute your music. So for me, that means that it's going to be bigger than just the little check you just gave me. That means that I'm not only showing my audience, but I'm showing your audience, and I'm going to show bigger audiences. Because this is how the content was working. Let's say 2016, 17, let's say 18, you know? And this is before I feel like the peak of Afro. Definitely before the peak of Afro. 2018, 2017, before the peak of Afro. So I would tell them.
In the US, yeah.
In the US, of course. We're always late. I was telling artists like, okay, I'll do that. But I'm going to also distribute this work on different platforms like YouTube. So, and YouTube is a huge machine. And it's a huge machine because, you know, if you understand monetization, you understand, and distribution, you understand how powerful of a tool it is. So I would tell them, hey, I need my video whitelisted. And whitelisted is when you get like, you're able to monetize off your video on YouTube. Because a lot of times with dancing, you're using music, you're using somebody else's sound. So you're legally not able to monetize on that because you don't have the license to. So a lot of dancers are making free videos and distributing free content out and not monetizing and making $0 on it. But these artists are able to make money off of you. So I kind of caught that on real quick, like real quick. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. But this is also the clause. I need my videos whitelisted. And they're like, cool, yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. Maybe because they didn't believe it was going to get that big. Or maybe because they didn't think it was a big deal. But for me, I knew it was going to get big. Because I knew the quality of what I was bringing to the table.
You know yourself.
I know myself. Come on, bring it back. I know myself. So, yeah. And then my video started blowing on YouTube. But I was also making money off of it.
So Do Maybe, right?
Do Maybe, but also there's other videos.
Your whole
Wizkid, Tiwa Savage, they didn't even ask me, I did that, but or Do Maybe, like just a bunch of videos started blowing, you know, and I was making money off that. So I make a cute check every month just from YouTube off of videos that I did years ago.
Yeah.
That's
even still.
And that's because from the initial round of it, I just saw myself more than just a dancer. I saw myself as a distribution platform as well. You know, I saw myself as a vessel into the greater world, you know? And that's another thing I think is really important for dancers. Understanding your impact. You're going to leave here with something like like Denzel Washington said.
We got to run that clip. I'm leaving here with something.
Right. It was something like Denzel Washington said. So I was making sure I left here with something in 2017, 2018. And that kind of started that kind of stream of income for me. Just YouTube, making promotional videos for artists with YouTube and making sure that it was like a long form contract, whether they knew it or not. But that all comes from knowing yourself and knowing how valuable you are, you know? And that also formed relationships, important relationship with these artists because the quality of work I was giving and the trust they had to put in me, because they're giving me more than just money. They're giving me licensing to a certain extent, you know, to use or rights to use their art. There's a form of trust that has to be bonded with these two artists in order for that to happen. So, yeah.
There are so many questions in that. Like one is like contract work. How does contract work?
Right.
The other question is licensing. How does licensing work?
Right.
The other one is trust. How do you communicate and trust in between creators? Like, is it just you're meshing off of vibes or, you know, as IGDM? Like, how is the game played? Like, I guess we can first just start with contract work because I feel like that's one of the fundamental building blocks for building well.
Yeah.
As a dancer.
Yeah, definitely. Like, dancers are usually like get the short end of the stick when it comes to contracting. This is what goes back into like the pathways of dancers. Usually dancers like want to get signed to an agency. The agency is taking about a 10 to 20% fee. Okay. But you would think, okay, 10 to 20% fee. I better be leaving here with something. You feel me? Like you would think that you should be getting work that would make that 10 to 20% feel like it's nothing. You know what I'm trying to say? But the way, like I said, dancers get the short end of sticks, and we don't strike for it. Like,
in the agencies.
huh?
In the agencies, they get the short end of the stick?
In general.
Dancers.
Pawns in general.
Pawns. Yeah, we get in the short end of stick. Like, so imagine sometimes agencies are bringing you work for $200. It's not livable work. You feel me? For companies that are making millions. And then you get 20 to 20% of that money taken off, And that's not necessarily always the agency's fault. It's a system that's been put in place where artists, especially specifically, not just like musicians is different. It's dancers are seen as interchangeable. Like they're seen as replaceable. They're seen like, oh, there's a bunch of dancers. Oh, it's whatever. They're not seen as valuable. And like I said, that starts from you as dancers knowing that you're so valuable that you won't even take that. But also starts with these companies understanding that without dance, there would be a lot of stuff that's not going down. Without dance, these tours would not be happening the way it needs to happen. Without dance, like TikTok wouldn't have really, to a certain extent, especially after COVID.
I mean, TikTok was all dance.
All dance. You feel me?
Yeah.
Dancing and lip syncing.
I mean,
okay.
What's it called? Triller.
Yeah, Triller. I was on Triller like, they're not paying us for this. But see, look at me. I'm already like, where's my contract? But yeah, contract work is really important. So for me, whenever I'm writing a contract, I'm making sure I'm covering all my ground. I'm making sure I have a certain rate already ready. I'm making sure that I'm able to. I'm making sure I have knowledge in the way that I actually respond to certain type of contracts, you feel me, or people talking. So if I have a contract, I have my own rate, I have my own performance contract, or I have my own promotional contracts, I have a bunch of different contracts, right? I'm also making sure I have the language and I have the skill set to be able to negotiate, because a lot of times with contracts you have to be able to negotiate. So that's another aspect of it. Knowing your rates, having multiple contracts, not every contract fits the actual situation at hand, and learning how to negotiate. So that's like the top 3 things when it comes to contractual work. And then researching. It's like when you looking for a house, right? You got to look at the prices of all the different houses around you sometimes in order to make sure that you're actually on the ball. You got to do your due diligence to make sure you're on the ball. Because imagine that house worth $1 million. This house is $800,000, and you're about to sell your house for $400,000. You
He's my real estate broker.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Come on now. Let's not do that to ourselves. So also researching and doing that work. And I also think it's really important for dancers to be more open about sharing salaries, sharing money talk. You feel me? Why is there not enough money?
Why don't they talk about money talk?
Why? Money, why is that taboo? I want to know how much you made, baby, for that job. And I really respect. There was this one dancer one time I was gonna do a job, and it was something new for me, and I was like, I have no idea how to price myself. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And this is later. This is pretty last year. Yeah, it was last year. And I was like, even throughout all the work that I've gotten, it was something so new to me. I was like, I don't know what to do. How much is a day rate? How much is this? And I reached out to somebody, and she was very transparent and honest about it. And I really appreciate that. And I think there needs to be more of that. And actually, a lot of industries, a lot of industries, not just dance.
I got a question on that.
Yeah.
Do you think the transparency will lower prices or increase prices?
It gotta increase it. It has to increase it, because somebody's making money, okay? And it's not you. It's gonna increase it. There's transparency always increases a certain level of value because nothing's being hidden. You know what I'm trying to say? When things are being hidden, there's confusion. You don't want confusion. That's why a lot of the industry is full of confusion. You want transparency. You want it to be okay, it might create a little jealousy or whatever, but it's okay.
And less confusion equals increased trust, which equals increased deliverable.
Yeah.
Right? Increased ability to deliver the package that people want, which leads to better results.
And increased understanding.
More money.
Because people don't even know.
More effectiveness.
Increased knowledge. You're only as good as what you know to a certain extent. So if you don't know, what good is it? What good is it? So yeah, transparency within this industry for contracts, whether with your agency or whether you're independent, freelancer who's trying to create and making money, that's going to help you with your knowing what's actually happening in the industry across the whole. So yeah, that's contracts.
I didn't know it was going to be that's contracts, right? That's contract. And then, I mean, Lonnie, I don't know if you had something to say.
No, I mean nothing. Nothing. I mean, yeah,
Music?
Yeah, licensing. I mean, like licensing music, like with the music industry, being a dancer, like what? How do you go about that? Like being in the music industry, being in the dance industry. How do you like people in the music industry? It's like you pretty much blew up Rima.
Let's not say
Rima.
that.
I'm not even. You know, some people could say the number one artist in India, number one artist in Africa right now, Rima. You know, you were so influential for spreading his sound with that Do Me video. I have friends who hit me to this day, like, yo, like I was just on YouTube and this dancer blew my mind.
Oh wow.
You know her? Like is that your brother?
know?
Like right? And so
yeah, like
dance.
Music.
Licensing.
I'm actually like music is so like it's such a I can't even get into the music industry, but I'm gonna speak about the relationship between music and dance, you know, and how like those industries I feel like there needs to be better collaboration between those industries when it comes to that because the record labels, I'm not even gonna say it's actually the individual artist, but these record labels or these publishing companies or whoever is really in charge of the sound and the music, they have like they give out licenses in order to use the music. However, like dance, you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have Reels, you have YouTube Shorts now, and I'll get into YouTube Shorts. But you have these platforms that you are trying to spread your art, and as dancers, we can dance to silence, and that's cool and all. It's really abstract, but you want to dance to some music, you want to dance to some tunes, and imagine you're putting your all into this quality piece of work with a beautiful sound to help like push that, and you can't even make a dime off of it. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, you know. It's kind of crazy, and this is what I mean by better collaboration between the music industry and the dance industry, and the platforms that help push both. You know. So I will say, recently, YouTube Short has actually created this thing where, it's kind of like a licensing thing where you can basically put a video up, and you're able to monetize on that video, and you get a certain percentage of that video, even if you're using somebody else's sound. The artist or the record label or the publishing company also gets a piece of that too. So everyone's getting a piece of the pie. I think that's only fair. I think that's only fair, and that should have been implemented a long time ago. But I will say with the push of other platforms like TikTok and even Reels, but really TikTok, they realized how much free marketing, free game they were getting. Literally free game. Like, I feel like the marketing costs for these like music artists have gone down like millions.
Wow.
Millions.
I mean, Davido was talking about it. He said on his 2 previous albums, he spent like I think over $1 million, and on his most recent album, he spent around $300,000, and it's his best album ever. This is the biggest album yet, and he's over here doing. With Chris Brown, right? That one video just did it. Literally millions of.
There's a formula. Back then, you didn't have TikTok. You didn't have Reels. You didn't have people literally going out of their way across the world dancing and creating content for free for these artists. Now you do, and I feel like it's only right to do like YouTube and better to give those artists a piece of the pie. That's another key for monetization. So like, you know, dancers, make sure that you're not just giving free game for all these artists on these platforms. Make sure you're getting your money's worth. At least use YouTube Shorts. At least. TikTok.
Shorts.
They pay. They pay. But you have to really have a certain amount of followers. There's a couple rules.
What are those rules?
I think like over 10,000 followers, you can like join their programs or whatever. I think Instagram literally said, see y'all, we're not paying no one anymore. They used to though. But
I have a question.
Yeah.
Like how do you more dancers get to that level where they're seen as like a star athlete or a star like rapper or like artist, right? Because like and have there been people like that before? Yeah. You know, right?
I will say that one, it starts with perception, like I said, of self, and also like from the outside world. You know, I remember in college, a teacher was telling me like, you know, dance is entertainment, and you know, sports is entertainment too. But like you said, because dancers are seen as artists more so than athletes, it's just like we're just entertainment. We're not seen as athletes. So one, the perception of understanding the actual amount of physicality that we use. Like I'm a Knicks City dancer. I was a Knicks City dancer, and we would have sometimes 8-hour rehearsals. Or for example, our award show. You'll have at least a week straight of 10-hour rehearsals. Back to back to back. That's dancing, straight dancing, 10 hours. Maybe a 1-hour break. You feel me? Like understanding the actual like logistics of what it takes to be a dancer is gonna be so key in terms of changing perception of how much we deserve, you know? That's one thing. The other thing is like contracts, you know, and like it's, for example, Nike is doing a little bit more work with dancers. You know, dancers should deserve a shoe. We deserve a shoe line. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, like track athletes.
Like track athletes have.
So it's kind of like it reminds me of like skate. Like there's a couple ideas here. Skateboarders. Like there was a time when skateboarders like Nigel Houston and others like were not considered big athletes. There was a time when esports players were not considered big athletes, but they were both able to make millions of dollars.
Right.
Dance, which we know is the number one most physically laborious job. Is still not producing tens of $1 million athletes, and like you're kind of, you know, I see you as like the Rob Dyrdek of dancers, you know, or like, you know, one of those dancers that's gonna change the game for other dancers in the way Rob changed it for other skaters. And so when you think about creators for the new athletes, how do you change the game? You know, how do you constantly, and this is kind of connected with my mom was like, you know, how do you always stay on that next level? How do you always know how to evolve? Like, how are you always ready to change the next game? How do you constantly keep making like that
stay on top?
Yeah, stay on top of your game.
So for me, that's a great question. Shout out to your mom. Oh wait, sorry, I had a moment. But staying on top is really about, like I said, going back to reinventing yourself, but also a way to reinvent yourself is to see opportunities that might not be as obvious. And I mean this like this. Like I said, there's a certain path that we all go as when it comes to being professional, like especially professional commercial dancers, that we kind of like are one-track minded. You know, we're not able to see these opportunities that may actually make the like actual space to try to go like seem more reachable. Like a lot of dancers don't ever see themselves as millionaires. They don't. But for me, for example, I decided to create my own production company. Why? Because I was like, I want to shoot things that I haven't seen before. And I want to use dance as one of those, like, you know, tools in order to create that. So seeing yourself as bigger than just like a pawn, like I said, reinventing yourself, seeing opportunities in spaces. I've always been in front of the camera. Always. Like my entire like dance career, being always. So what is it like to be behind the camera? What is it like to push out the media that we see on the billboards? That we see on that are, you know how much it costs to make a billboard commercial? You know what I'm trying to say? Like seeing opportunities where you may not see it, the most obvious opportunities. Or for example, like working, what did we do one time? When we working like PAing. I used to do PAing for like directors. I used to be a PA for directors.
What is a
PA? Production assistant. Before I became a art manager or a project manager, project coordinator, whatever for different directors. And I'll always play I'm very curious. There's nothing for staying on top. Being extremely curious, not annoying, but curious. I would be like, oh, what camera is that? Just like, no, I'm so curious. Simple questions. Like, what camera is that? Like, oh, you want to know the camera? And they tell me the camera. Or when I meet people, or if I'm doing a commercial and I meet somebody, and I just ask questions that they, it may seem very like mundane to them, like it's basic to them, but it's actually really important to me because I don't have knowledge about. So like things like that, being very curious, asking the right questions, seeking opportunities in spaces that you may is not as obvious. And like I said, self-reflection, like being able to reflect on your past in order to see how you may improve into the future. That's how I feel like I've been able to stay on top, as well as reinvent myself, as well as, you know, open my eyes and seeing a bigger picture as more than just a dancer, but being a dancer that can change the world, you know?
And so different decisions lead to different outcomes.
Absolutely.
What are the paths? What is the path that you took, and why is that different than the path most dancers take?
I will say, like, I didn't start dancing, like, training dancing until I was, like, 10, 11. So it was pretty late. And a lot of people be like, I've been dancing since I was 3 years old, you know? And I feel like for me, that level of freedom of not having a certain amount of structure until I was mentally able to understand what I was doing was really amazing for me. You know, some people it's the opposite, but for me, I know that actually changed the trajectory of how I approach dance, how much I appreciate dance, and why I understand the importance of dance, and especially as an art form as well as like a sport. So having that. Also, I think my background, like I come from like amazing strong Nigerian parents. Igbo Kwenu, okay? Some really strong parents. Like my dad has always been very business and entrepreneurial. Like he's been very like business orientated. So has my mom. They've been partners and everything. And they kind of taught me to just like no matter what I do, be the best. So I was always had like a kind of like a hunger to like be the best at what I wanted to be just off the string of my parents. And I was like, I don't care what you want to be. Even though, you know, they all wanted doctors and like, you know, stuff like that. But once I was like, I'm gonna do dance. He was like, okay, great. What's your strategy? How you gonna get this done? How you gonna be the best? Da 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 da. Like, cheer me on, but making me understand that it's bigger than just dance, you know? Like making sure I understand the vision is like, how do we get to the top? Baby girl with dance. So having that support system that was always making sure I understood it's bigger than it, than what I may see, than what people usually see, it's good. You know, that's been very great for me. Do you want to stop?
No, man. I mean,
what was the question? I got distracted.
No, the question was just like, you know, how do you get to that next level? How do you stay on top of your game all the time? And you kind of touched on your background. You touched on a little bit around
my parents,
your parents, and just how you've always been.
Oh, another thing.
Dedicated to doing things a little bit different, and you weren't forced to kind of dance a certain way. You kind of have to choose how you wanted to dance.
I definitely have to
over time, and so
and also having a network of people that are not just like not only like mine but actually have different minds than you. Like I've been around amazing masters of different things, like people who have mastered like whether it's cinematography or people who are masters at like, you know, like economics, yeah, you know, it's like different things. So like, or these two, like they're just like very different from me, but also very similar. They have a love of just growth and like life. So making sure that people around you that you're surrounding yourself are a little different, you know. And I travel a lot and I enjoy traveling because like I said, I love to go and learn. I have a curiosity for life and I have a curiosity for space, and I have a curiosity for art, all forms. So I love to travel and go into spaces where I'm uncomfortable. But within that uncomfortability, I'm able to grow more because I'm exploring things. I'm being forced to do things that I'm not used to. And it doesn't always have to do with dance, but it always connects back to and helps dance out. So whether I'm going to Ghana and I'm doing like a project there that has nothing to do with dance, but I know it eventually comes back to it.
What was your lowest experience with dance?
Oh my God. There's so many lows. My lowest experience with dance. Wow. I have like two moments that I feel like are really really like changed my mindset a lot. In college, I had a professor. I know I'm a dancer, but I'm Black. I'm Nigerian. I'm African. You know, like I'm like I said, dance is ancestral like memory. So for me, it's deeper. And I had a teacher tell me that like, you know, hip hop or a certain type of dance, like basically Black dance, was entertainment, not art. And that was like
tweet.
Oh, it tweets me. You know me. Y'all know me. I was like, wait, what? And that's what I meant. It was a very whitewashed space. But that really made me, like I said, like, okay, well, it's bigger than entertainment, sweetheart. And I dropped that class real hot. but it made my work even that much more specific. You know, it made me get more specific. I was into specificity after that day. I was very, you know, when you go into something like you start a business, kind of vague. You don't really know what you're doing. After that day,
once someone suns you, now you're
once it sunned me, I said, "Oh, I'm about to get real black." I said,
so how is it being a real black dancer? Like how is it being a real black?
I just tapped even more into, like I said, my embodied ancestral memory. Like I tapped into more African dance styles. I tapped into like studying the greats. I tapped into studying Catherine Dunham. Just studying black art all over the world, globally.
What black artists, dancers, creators would you say everybody has to study?
One of my favorite ones. There's a lot of people, but one of my favorite dancers is Catherine Dunham, and I say this because Catherine Dunham was an anthropologist as well as a dancer, and it kind of feels similar to me, like where I was psychology and dance. Right? Isn't that crazy? So she, her legacy was really huge because she had a moment where it was like she was a good ballet, she was classically trained. Then she went to the Caribbean, you know, and she was like, she saw dance. She saw
what it really
dance.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, what is this? Oh, why do we not have it in the States? And what is it doing to me? And what is it doing to my body that makes me want to join them? That makes me want to participate?
I remember Lagos, I think Moist Beach.
Yeah.
The day I joined the dance community.
Yeah.
That moment.
Oh my God,
the footwork.
Something in it, right?
I was like, what?
What is, like, you were like, what's making me also do it?
I was born in Chicago, but the footwork in Lagos, Moist Beach made me say, I will join the dance community today. I joined that day. That day I said,
what was that, 2019?
I signed up. I said, I'm joining the community because Nneka was going crazy. It was pretty much only you and then the gang out there.
Yeah, it was like, so there was like
a dance.
There was like a dance curated dance event at Moist Beach. And
that's dope.
It was dope. I was like, y'all gotta come, and they came and they experienced art. And mind you, it wasn't just like, you know, footwork or something. It was like art. Like it was a bunch of different type of styles of dance and their interpretation. Like I said, something so mystical and magical about dance throughout the diaspora. That's like I said, when you see it as a person, you feel it. You like, oh, whoa. It triggers something into you. So that's what happened with that's what happened with Catherine Dunham. It triggered something in her. And she was like, oh, I gotta bring this to the States. You know, I gotta bring this over here. I gotta leave here with something. That's the theme of the day. You gotta leave here with something. And she brought that over, and of course it was like, of course, in a very like racist kind of society, like world, like, you know, space and era of time that it was, they didn't accept it. Like, what is this? This is nonsense. Like, there's no technique to this. What are you showing me? To Catherine Dunham? And she was like, what? So her framework about her legacy was really like changing the game and bringing a different side of dance to a very rigid racist structure. And she, you know, she has something called the Dunham technique, you know, where it's like a lot of undulations, you know. It really awakens parts of the body that traditionally in ballet, you'll see, we call it a dead 7 inches, you're not really utilizing, you know? But for Black people, we utilize. So Catherine Dunham really changed the game. She's like, this is not just entertainment. This is not just like a sideshow. This is like real art.
Dang.
And I appreciate her for that. So that's one of my favorite people to study.
That's fine.
She born in Chicago, Illinois.
Born in Chicago, you know, they love anything that has to do with Chicago.
You know, that's where we from. You know, Chicago, New York, though, too. You know, raised in New York, Lagos a little bit, you know, from us, but
Catherine Dunham is amazing.
I also went to University of Chicago too, and she did as well, which is pretty fire.
Who? Catherine Dunham?
Yeah, she did as well, so that's pretty dope.
That's your girl.
That's dope.
That's your girl.
Modern dancer, choreographer, author, educator, activist, legend of the game.
Yep.
Yeah, she's dope.
Yeah, she's that girl.
Died in 96. Dancers have a long life.
I was born in 96.
And I think she was a Cancer too.
No, she died in 2006.
Well,
at age 96.
She's June 22nd though.
She a Cancer. I'm a Cancer.
Yo, so I think the last question the last question that we got, I think, is if there's some advice you can give future Black leaders, what would that advice be?
Okay. It would be stay curious, build community, because you cannot do it on your own. And
How do you do that? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. But yes.
that actually, no, like, I feel like I missed that.
I was just like, how do you build community? Like, just in general, like, how, how is it when...
Me, I'm like, what?
How do you stay on your game? Like, I guess not how do you stay on your game, but just like, what was the path that took you, that you took in your career, and like, how were you building community on your stages?
Okay, so for me, or just like, a path, what helped me within my path, especially when it comes to creating wealth, is community. Like building really big community. Like I have a community that's global, not because of the work that I share online, but also because when I hold my classes or when I'm traveling and having classes internationally, I've been able to have like 2 European tours. I've taught in a couple of African countries, and like taught a little bit in different places in America. So like being able to travel, being able to take my work, take a product that I created and be able to have it in different locations has been vital in terms of building a global community. And it's off of the strength of the love of dance. It's off the strength of like the love of creation. And people just enjoy seeing something that I made. It makes them, something about it makes them feel good. It triggers, like I said, that ancestral memory. But I couldn't be anywhere that I am right now without community. I could not. Like the sharing, the expansion of everything has been because of community. And building it, like I said, takes time. The first thing I did was collaborate. Gotta be ready to collaborate with other people, other artists, other creators, musicians, other dancers, and other companies, like collaboration. That's key for building community. Also, like being authentic and true to yourself. Like I said, knowing yourself, because once you know yourself, like I said, it's easier for people to resonate with you, and understand your craft a little bit better. And the third thing is really just like not being afraid to, like I said, try new things. There were times where in my dance career I was doing something different and it may not have hit as well, but I knew I had to do it in order to get to another point. So being able to try new things and being consistent. A lot of times you hear that a lot, but it really means like being consistent, posting your videos, getting on your Zoom every day, okay? That's a TikTok. But you gotta get on your Zoom, aka you gotta get on it. Like some people wake up every morning and at 7 a.m. and go to the gym. Sometimes you gotta wake up every day and record a video. You may not post it anywhere yet, but you gotta record that video. One thing I was doing a lot, like in college, that really pushed me was I was recording a video like every other day. It didn't matter what time. It was like 3 a.m. Lottie knows. 3 a.m. I'd be recording a video.
Every day.
Freestyling.
How many reps? Like
more than 10,000 hours, okay? More than 10,000. The 10,000 is not enough. It gotta be like 50,000. You know what I'm trying to say? Because it's a lifelong journey. As a dancer, your body is changing. As a dancer, movement is changing. And how it looks on your body is changing. So you gotta keep on going. You gotta keep on learning. You gotta keep on moving. And you gotta be able to take time for yourself and just be dancing in your mirror. Whether you're a dancer or not. So those are some ways. Yeah.
And you're a movement coach. I remember one day you taught me how I walk tells my personality. I think there's like a movie where someone's like sitting in the chair and like they just watch someone walk and they just know how they are. But you literally have that now. So you can see how people are as people just by the way they walk.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in just something as simple as a walk, and walking is like an involuntary movement. Like your body just does it for you. Like you're not actually like pushing yourself to walk every day. Like your body's really carrying you. And a lot of times when your body carries you, you're forgetting your body's also carrying a lot of other things, whether it's pain, whether it's emotional pain, whether it's like trauma, whether it's joy. It's carrying so much every day and it affects your walk. The most basic thing, like your walk. So when I like do some of my classes or do some like movement therapy things, I always start with sometimes the walk. So yeah, it was really powerful to see Dio. I've actually done it to Dio a couple to like and his friends. And it's just like good because it makes you more aware of the self, of the body. A lot of times we don't have enough trust in our body, but we don't even know our body is literally carrying us through life. Not even us. So building more awareness and trust in your body is so key to life, no matter what industry you are in. That's part of health. That's a part of accumulating wealth. Knowing your body, knowing your mind, and knowing yourself, you know?
How do you trust your body? How do you learn to trust your body? Like you're giving us a master. Like we were supposed to.
Maybe we might have to leave that for a part two.
We're supposed to wrap this up, but I really like because you're dropping so many gems. Like these are $1 million gems.
Okay.
Like, if you change your mindset, if you change your movement set, you will
movement set
end up in a crazy situation. So, I guess as we'll finish it off, here, but just like, how do you change your mindset and movement to get you onto a path of higher wealth?
Okay, that's a great question. That's kind of it's a little hard because it's a very like subjective to the person. It's an individual kind of journey and a thing. The first thing I would say is that knowing that it's a journey, knowing that it's not just going to happen one thing, but also knowing that the beautiful part about it is that it all kind of aligns, it all trickles down, so one of the first ways I started really trusting and knowing my body was not being afraid to fall, and that can mean a lot of different things. So with the mindset, it could be like not being able to fail, like not being afraid to fail. I mean, with the physical, it's like literally physically not being afraid to fall, trip, not being afraid, like a skateboarder, literally like not being afraid to be off balance a little bit, okay, but knowing that not off balance is a key to also understand where balance is, and like with the mindset, it's like it's practice. Our minds are programmed. So we have to learn how to unprogram and reprogram ourselves into like certain habits, certain practices, certain mantras, certain like ways of manifesting, certain ways of living, It's a whole thing. But the first way I started was journaling. I journaled a lot. And just wrote different like mantras of where I wanted to be, and started writing about different habits of what I wanted, and not just goals, like how do I want it to live, literally, because everyone was like, oh, I gotta go, but how do you want to live, and then like I said with the body, just like I just like tried extreme things. Like I literally as a kid used to like jump off my bed and like wrestle and stuff. Like I was a really aggressive kid, and when I was learning like to really like do my own thing and dance, I would like be on the floor rolling around. Like I don't like think you need to do all that, but like like it could be as simple as trying different shoes, because when you're in different shoes, it's gonna look uncomfortable. Like we all have our comfort sneaker, we all have our comfort shoe, we all have something that we're comfortable. Like just being okay with being uncomfortable in certain spaces. That's a really good way to like start practicing how to trust yourself and trust your body. Trying new clothing that you may mentally feel like, oh, it's not gonna look right.
I love doing that.
Like testing the limits of that. Just start testing the limits of things. I wouldn't say like jump off the sky or something like that, but like skydive. But if that's what helps. But
people like that.
Some people like that. But you can start small as just changing your clothes. So yeah, that's just some ways. If you have more questions, always feel free to let me know.
Where can they?
Yeah, so I have my company's called De La Sin LLC. It's like an ecosystem of different types of, I call it creative playground, where like it hones and harness like creative innovations in different ways. So you can find me on Instagram at DeLaCyn, DELACYN, and you can find me like basically on all platforms like that. And you can also like I have a website, delacyn.com, so you'll always reach me out there. And yeah, just like Google me, like DM me, message me, anything, and talk to them. They're amazing people, and they're doing amazing things with this Black Indigenous podcast. It's something that we all need. I will hopefully one day interview them.
Hopefully.
Okay, no, I will. I'm gonna bother them. You know, and you guys will see the great, amazing, great things that they're working on too. So, yeah, again, my name is Nneka Irobunda, and I'm so happy that I was on this podcast. We talked a lot. But good luck editing. But yeah. But yeah, thank you.